Hey everyone, welcome back to Google Workspace Recap, your number one source for everything Workspace by the tabGeeks Network. My name is Jesse Nolan, my co-host is Steve Larson, and we're here to help you keep up. So, Steve, what do you think the odds are of Google launching another social network in the next 6 months?
Well, I mean, very likely, given the fact that they just love to create stuff all the time.
They just can't help themselves.
Maybe not as much now with all the layoffs everyone's having and the refocusing.
What do you mean? Plenty of people to hire.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on with Twitter these days. What's going to ultimately happen? We'll see.
I don't think anybody knows.
As long as it just keeps working, I mean, the people are still going to be there. I don't think that's going to change. So as long as it works.
That's one of the things that I've been reading about it also and noticing is, like, you know, props to the SREs and the developers that built this. I mean, it's the World Cup, right? I think that's what it's called. I don't know, sports ball something in some other country where they're, everyone is talking about it on every other website out there. But Twitter is all right, fine. It's a little hokey. It's a little wonky. I've seen some issues with it. Certain things not loading or just not having permissions or whatever.
You
just,
see that
looking funky. But
it's
up. It's
was
working.
Loading a whole bunch of local endpoints, local dev endpoints.
No, I didn't see that, but I did see the World Cup holding page, which had nothing on it. It was just Lorem Ipsum everywhere.
Last week had a whole bunch of like dev.local.twitter.com pages, airing out on the homepage. Yeah.
Now I have to check the Twitter homepage. What do we got here? The Voice airing on NBC. Ohio State Buckeyes. There's a lot of stuff on here. It's all sports.
Well, you have to
the entire homepage is sports.
If you pull up the developer tools, you'll see. You might be able to see some things there. What's going on?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, under the
I don't know. Let's see.
They might have fixed it.
Probably.
Yeah.
Let's see, network. No, not really seeing anything here at the moment.
It was the other week. It's like a week ago. So it all looks good now.
A couple errors here and there, but we'll forgive them. I hope it survives. I love Twitter as a platform. I actually got beta access. I'm one of the first 6,500 people to get beta access to Post.News, which Kara Swisher, if you are familiar with her, is a well-renowned tech journalist, and she's been basically talking about it. It's by the founder or co-founder of Waze, which Google bought a bunch of years ago. So a little bit of a talent there and knowledge of creating things and building them to scale and whatnot. So it's very bare bones. I got in today and it looks like Twitter. I mean, that's what we're going for here. And there's another guy who actually hoping maybe we can get onto the podcast here, who was formerly at Google's Area 120 and he was the director of Area 120, and he's working on a Twitter 2.0 as well. So maybe we can get him to come on here and talk about Area 120 and things like that. And I'm going to butcher his name here, but Gabor Csell, Cselle. Can somebody tell me how to pronounce that? We'll have to get him on here. But he was the director of Area 120 at Google. He was a co-founder of Remail, which was acquired by Google, and Namo Media, which was acquired by Twitter. So again, another dude who's got experience building to scale, and he's working on one. So definitely got the change makers riled up. So worst case scenario, even if Twitter fails, even if it doesn't, we're still getting a whole bunch of people that are going out there and saying, let's be creative about this. Let's build the platform that we want. And then, of course, in a year or two or three, those will all get bought up by either some of the existing platforms or other platforms out there, and hopefully they'll all get better because of them. Still waiting on several features to come to various Google platforms from their acquisitions, but I digress. Who knows? But certainly not a boring time for anybody who's interested in the drama that's going on in the tech world right now.
Yeah.
And in other news, NASA is back at the moon. Orion, circling the moon right now. Yeah. How are we friends?
I barely follow all these updates these days.
You're too busy watching the World Cup. Forget about it, man. Let's just go home. NASA finally launched Artemis 1. It is their competitor to, or I guess collaborator with, I don't know, competitor to SpaceX's Starship. It is the most powerful rocket we've ever built on this planet. And it finally launched after, I don't know, a billion delays of various sorts and reasons and weather. And then it managed to stay on the pad through a hurricane in Florida while I was there. So, I held down the fort for it. But survived the pad, 75-mile-an-hour winds, the hurricane, and launched. Actually lifted off the pad, and it is the next generation multi-agency built by companies around the world, etc. Human-rated capsule to go into space and to go to the moon. And so the prototype is currently is called Orion, and it lifted off of Artemis, or lifted off on. I'm getting all my names confused. And is currently orbiting, as of today, taking pictures and beaming them back the moon. So we're back.
Nice.
It's pretty exciting. Pretty exciting news there.
Very exciting.
Yeah. I think Artemis was the whole mission, and Orion is the capsule. The crazy thing about it, though, for the real space nerds out there, before we get into our topics, is that I was going to give the
World Cup update first before we got into those, but it's okay.
Nobody cares about that.
No, only a couple billion people. That's right. You're right.
The cool thing about this rocket, though, is that some of the smaller rocket engines on it were actually repurposed, used engines from the space shuttle. Like, they had flown. They had mission hours on the space shuttle, yes, the one that flew like an airplane and came back down and landed that they shut down like forever ago. That one. And they're reusing those engines. So big win for recycling there, I suppose. So what's happening in the World Cup?
Well, the U.S. drew against Wales. And they're, of course, in the same bracket as England and Iran.
Drew. Does that mean that we won? Drew?
No, draws as when you tie.
Draws when
you tie.
Okay.
Yes.
Isn't this a game? Aren't we somebody's supposed to win?
You get a point for a tie. You get 3 for a win, 0 for a loss.
Okay.
So
we sported harder than the other sporters, and we all came out the same.
Yeah, only in certain final matches do they have overtime and penalties to have a definitive winner. But otherwise, normal match play will have a draw, a tie, aka a tie.
For us Americans in the room.
Yeah. So there's a few. The opening match, Qatar versus Ecuador. Of course, Ecuador won 2-0 in that one, or let's say 2-0 is often referred to. Give you some other. I think you know that one though.
No, I've heard of it.
And then Netherlands was 2-0 over Senegal. So those were the first matches of the tournament. Then they've got a few ones starting early in the morning, like 4 a.m. I think it's Central Time. But yeah, given the time difference, there's a lot of early morning matches tomorrow.
Sure.
Lots of them happening tomorrow. So.
Now, did you get that news off the Twitter homepage?
I did not. No, that was off the Google social media news feed. So, they just got to adapt that to a social media network.
Google World Cup Plus?
Something like that, yeah.
It'll be back.
Yeah. All right, so getting into the updates so that we have for this week. We've spent some extra time today talking about non-Google stuff.
Sports.
We had a few updates this week, just about 4. We had a few others that kind of got snuck in there at the end of the week recap. Three of them, and then we also had another update for the Drive for Desktop client. I feel like there's one on that every month nowadays, or even less than every month.
They're pushing them out.
Yeah, we might need to have just an update for that one. No, it's fine. And then a few things in the news as well. Some interesting ones around, interestingly enough, feedback on the feature rollout communication, which AKA all the updates that we talk about and how Google communicates those to you as an admin through the calendar and also through the blog posts. So they're looking for some feedback from there. I think other than the open-ended questions where there's like the paragraph responses, I'm not really sure what they're trying to do here with that feedback, given the questions they were asking. But of we'll talk a little more about that when we get to it. Speaking of those updates, those silent releases that we saw this week, you can drag content from Google Slides into other apps on Android. Another one is that you can there's an improved drag and drop on the Google Drive Android app. And then there's also full mouse support now available on Google Docs Android app. So really all those silent releases are improvements and enhancements for Android app functionality. That's what that's all about. And then the 4 updates that we saw for the week, those are going to be, first one is going to be that you can concentrate or disconnect with scheduled do not disturb on Google Chat. Next one, we can use access approvals to control data access during support or maintenance. Next is there's a new consolidated control page for Google Takeout. That's an interesting one there. And then sharing suggestions in Google Drive are going to make collaborating a little bit easier. And then, as I said, there's a drive for desktop update going on to version 67. Yeah, I know. Going on to version 67 there. A few additional enhancements on that. I think I could talk about those now. So let me just go through those. On the drive for desktop update, there was an issue that was resolved where users could attempt to upload more photos than their cloud storage allowed. So that's been resolved there. There's some added support for macOS users on the file provider and some info there on how to know if you're using file provider to create shared drives. Other users will see an improved shared drive creation flow. Also, the users can now understand if an account has an issue more easily and resolve it in settings. And then finally, just a general update on additional bug fixes and performance improvements. And then our headlines we have in the news. There was making sense of ad assurance, enabling safer online experience. And that was an article there we saw from FOSSI, which is that's Family Online Safety Institute. So that's what FOSSI is. I talked about
the conference this week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just update this so I can hear you a little bit better, because it was a little tough to hear when you were talking.
I said they had a big conference this week.
Oh no, it's just my monitor level. That's all I was doing, so I can hear you better when I'm over myself talking, because I'm a little bit too high in the monitor.
You just love listening to yourself talk.
Yeah. Actually, I don't. I really don't. Actually,
turn yourself down.
I was listening to myself in some movies recently. I was like, "Is that what I sound like? Like that does not sound good." Whatever.
We all go through that. It's about time you got over it.
Yeah. I know, right? So we talked about the feedback that Google's looking for up around feature rollout communication. There's also another event coming up for the roadmap series, and you need to register for that ahead of time, because I believe they check to see if you have your NDA signed. So we'll have an event registration link for the Google Workspace roadmap series, where they talk about all the most recent roadmap updates. And then, as a reminder for all 5 of you that have been using Threadit, that will be turned down starting December 19th. So everyone in the world got that announcement that it was being shut down, but there was only about 5 or 10 people using it. So I don't know how that happened. Anyways, getting into those silent updates, talking about the drag content from slides into other apps on Android. So this is, we've seen a lot of updates over on the Android front here. So this is yet another enhancement where the ability to easily drag and drop text and image content from Google Slides into other apps on Android is now a possibility. So that is one of them there that got announced. Also, there's some improvements to drag and drop on the Google Drive Android app. And this is just an improvement of a feature that will allow you to drag and drop those files and folders around in your drive to move their locations as you see fit. And that can either be done in the 2-window view or in the single app view. And then finally, to wrap up those silent releases for the week, there's now full mouse support available on Google Docs, the Google Docs Android app. And it just kind of allows you now to click and drag across text. And that when you click and drag across text, it will now select that specific text instead of panning the entire document. So I guess just giving you some more probably expected behavior that you'd have from the desktop, I'd imagine. Probably what that is. All right, getting into those 4 updates that we saw for the week. First one is that you can now start to concentrate or disconnect with scheduled Do Not Disturb on Google Chat. So, of course, this is, more ways to help you communicate with your colleagues in terms of, whether or not you're available or not, and whether or not they should expect a response from you based on your settings here. So this is a way to kind of, it's useful here when you want to mute notifications during regular lunch breaks or have a Do Not Disturb set automatically over the weekend whilst you're away from the desk, which I think most people are away from the desk on the weekend. So maybe not in every organization. Yeah, I mean, not in every organization, right? I mean, some weekends start on Friday and Saturday, of course, so everyone's weekend is different, I think. So there you go. But this one, relatively straightforward in terms of how this works. You set those times and Do Not Disturb on that recurring basis. And in terms of rollout for this one, rollout pace is going to be split between rapid release and scheduled release domains. The rapid release domains will start to see this on the 15th of November, a couple of days ago. That'll be on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for feature visibility there. And then scheduled release domains will start to see this in a few weeks on the 9th of December, also on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for feature visibility. And then that was for the web. On Android and iOS devices, you will see that happening at the same pace for both rapid release and scheduled release domains. Starts today, Monday, also on a gradual rollout for up to 15 days for visibility there. And this one is available to everyone on Workspace as well as personal Google accounts.
I want to say that I appreciate the updates blog team for putting all of these GIFs up there so that we can, have them next to us on the feed here.
Yeah.
So easily to see, so easy to see.
And I think that would be probably something to add into the comments and feedback onto that forum.
I've got comments.
Yeah.
You'll see.
I think they did ask for like 1 or 2 sentences there, Jesse, but I feel like you might be the exception.
Is that 545? Wow, I can't talk tonight.
Like a
5-point font. Say that 5 times.
Well, or
fast.
like a run-on sentence, or like how long is a sentence?
Yeah, sure.
A sentence, right?
Define sentence, please.
Right. Semicolon.
Exactly.
All right. This is interesting. This is actually it's called White Law, and I was told that this is actually a Highland Park. That they couldn't name it Highland Park because of the licensing, situation with independent bottlers, but
interesting.
One of 652 bottles.
I'm the one who can't talk, and you're over there drinking.
Right.
It's been one of those days.
No, I'm starting to get a cold though.
Uh-oh.
A little congested.
Stay away.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, we have for about our entire lives, Jesse. We've stayed away from each other.
Except for that one time at Google.
I mean, for that one time we were in the same
meetup.
Space. Yes, that we knew we were there. Right.
Vicinity. Yep.
Right. Yeah. All right. Next here we have the ability to use access approvals to control data access during support or maintenance. So access approvals is going to build upon the access transparency and access management features. It's going to allow customers to explicitly approve or deny Google employees access during data support and general maintenance. So this is good because we had seen a an access transparency log report on, accessing some of our data in shared drives that we just were like, why was Google looking at this? The ticket number doesn't correlate to any tickets that we saw in our system, and what was going on, and why were they looking at it? So, and the ticket number that they were referring to in the access transparency logs was, like, began with a 3, so it was probably from a couple of years ago. Really weird as to why Google was looking at our it was pretty specific, sensitive data in a shared drive. So, really not got to the bottom of why they were doing that. Yeah.
That's disturbing.
But that's available to you on Enterprise Plus. You can see that. So, so this is going to kind of extend this to access approvals and allow your admins to approve access to certain content. So you can have these, the ability to require explicit permission for Google to access covered content for a limited time period.
Cool.
So yeah, it is pretty cool. This is a pretty good one. I like this. Feature. I just wonder. Yeah, I wonder how it's going to work. So access approval request looks like it's in the alert center here. You go in, you click either approve this request or decline the request, and it looks like you probably have there's the duration of time in which it's going to be accessed. There's a support ticket reference number to it, and then an access region. So, all right, not bad. Yeah, looks good to me.
Yep.
Rollout for this feature, it started a couple days ago on the 15th of November for both rapid release and scheduled release domains, on an extended rollout, potentially longer than 15 days for visibility. And I can imagine this can be limited to quite a few domains. It is available. It's part of. This is interesting. So this is access approval is part of the Google Workspace Assured Controls, which is available as an add-on for Enterprise Plus customers. And this isn't even available for Enterprise Plus. It is an additional cost, I believe. And I think this additional cost is pretty substantial, if I recall. Yeah. Because assured controls and assured workloads, it's something like $20,000 a year, I think is what it was. It wasn't cheap. So,
well, they're going to pay all of the U.S. persons in the U.S.-based support teams a lot more money. So
yeah.
Because those are the ones that are the only ones allowed to view, if any.
Right.
And it's only made for super mega enterprises. So
yeah, I think that's what this is for. So.
Gonna charge what they can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, if you need it, it's now available. Next one is that new consolidated control page for Google Takeout. So beginning November 15th, 2022, admins can manage Takeout settings from a new consolidated controls page. So it's going to be under admin console account Google Takeout, user access to Takeout for Google services. And I thought maybe, just maybe, that this was going to be something where you could initiate a Google Takeout for a user. But
that would be interesting.
Alas, it is not. It is just, allowing more granular control over what the user is allowed to export so that you can control what information is taken up by the user. So, for example, right now, Takeout is really an all or nothing feature. You enable it for the user, and they can take out all the data that is available from the Takeout perspective from Google services. What's going to be happening, or what's possible now moving forward, is that you can start to limit the data types that a user is able to export. So, maybe, Gmail and Drive data, usually pretty sensitive information, right? Corporate data. You probably want to limit the takeout of Gmail and Drive data. But maybe everything else, not so important. Google Photos, things like maybe Google Map data or Blogger data, or location history, Google Photos, things like that. Those things maybe are not as sensitive from a corporate data control perspective as others would be. And so this is going to allow you now to more granularly control that export of data for your users. So a nice enhancement. I still think that the ultimate enhancement for this one would be to initiate a user takeout as an admin from the admin console. That would be nice to have. That is one of the most talked about features I've heard from admins.
Have you ever tried doing a takeout of an account with a large Google Photos? It's awful.
I've done it with large amounts of data in general. It's awful. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I guess the reasons why, but I feel like they could do better than that. It all drops in like 50 gig files, and then they all fail when they're downloading. And I mean, you can make it smaller, but then you end up with hundreds instead of tens of files.
Right.
Zip
for large
folders.
accounts, it's problematic.
Right.
Yeah.
Thankfully, mercifully, I haven't had to do it too many times, but those that I have, it's just like, oh no, so painful.
Yeah, I forget how. I usually do like I think it's like a 2 gig file.
Yeah. 2 gigs probably download better.
Yeah, that's usually what I choose.
I feel like they should just put it into Drive, like into a Drive folder, and then let me download that Drive folder using the Drive sync tool or something.
Right.
And then,
yeah, I mean, that's what they do with the domain level takeout is they put it into a GCP bucket.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you do have the options of like 1, 2, 4, 10, and 50 gig files. So,
but I'm telling you, for a multi-terabyte account, even 50 gig is painful, because then 50 gigs times out and they don't download properly, even on a on a high-speed connection.
Probably need to do 10 gig. I don't know.
Yeah, it's painful. Anyway.
All right. Well, with this consolidated takeout page and what super admins can do with this, and the end users can do, this is going to be rolling out starting the 15th of November, so just a few days ago, and it is also on a gradual release or gradual rollout for both scheduled release and rapid release domains, up to 15 days for visibility there, and it is available to all Workspace customers as well as the legacy G Suite and basic and business customers. And then finally, what we have for the week in terms of updates is that sharing suggestions in Google Drive is going to help make collaborating a little bit easier. So starting Wednesday last week, it made things a little bit easier here. When you share things in Google Drive, the suggested recipients is going to appear in the sharing dialog to speed up collaboration across the org. And there's a very, very fast animated GIF here in the update. It is happening quite quickly in front of me here, so I'm looking at it.
Once again, I'll slow it down just like I did last week.
Nice. Ooh, okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah. And then in terms of some functionality here, admins sharing suggestions will be on by default and will comply with the organization's sharing policy. For end users, there's some links here on how to leverage that and use it. Rollout for this feature, it is going to be split between the rapid release and scheduled release domains. I know. It's just like
I'm not the only one.
I can feel the congestion in my nose here trying to say all this.
Yeah.
Sorry. November 16th will be the start of the rapid release domains on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for visibility there. And then the scheduled release domains will start on the 30th of November on a gradual rollout up to 15 days for feature visibility, and available to all Workspace customers, but it will not be available to those with personal Google accounts. And then, that wraps up the updates there. Over to you, Jesse, for updates in the news, even though this week's news articles are mostly mine, in fact.
It was actually funny.
I mean, it's 50-50.
Your autofocus went fuzzy there for a minute. I was like, is it me? What? Oh, no.
Probably moved forward or backward there too.
You
quickly.
did, yeah. You moved forward a bit much, and it took a second to reacquire your face.
Yeah.
But it was as you were stumbling Neither of us can talk tonight, folks.
It's been a rough
Where's
one.
the yeah? Where's the drinks? All right, so this is an interesting one that I personally I've been taking an interest in this because I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and they're in a new school, and I've actually taken a bit of a leadership role in the school in terms of technology and mentoring and things like that, and I've been kind of doing a little research on kids on the internet and teenagers and younger and whatnot and what that's like. And I've had a lot of thoughts about this over the years. And so I've started digging into some of the latest research around it. And I saw this one that came out of the Family Online Safety Institute. I believe it was just this week or last week that they just had a big conference. And this study that they posted, Making Sense of Age Assurance, Enabling Safer Online Experiences, essentially talks about a lot of the things that I was just referring to, keeping children in age-appropriate spaces. It's a fundamental part of their safety, assessing age and implementing solutions, et cetera, et cetera. And as I was reading through this, I realized, the study was conducted by Kantar, never heard of them, but okay, and made possible by the support of Google. So I figured I would include it in here if any of you are interested in that. There's a couple of main key links in here, which I'll include: press release, executive summary, and full report. I won't bore you with the details if you don't have kids or if you're not really interested in this, but it's a big concern, especially these days. Yes, Steve.
Interesting. You've never heard of Kantar? Kantar is a client of ours, actually.
Oh, that's funny. Well, tell them they need more marketing.
They're part of WPP Group, so I think they're doing okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, small company. But again, I've only recently started researching this, and so. But anyway, we'll include the links for that. Something that I found rather interesting. All right, next is the feedback survey, feature rollout communication, also known as, in my opinion, the Tell Google I Love Workspace recap survey. There's a couple of questions in here asking how you get your releases, whether you do it through the release calendar that is part of Google Calendar, if you even knew that existed, if you like it, if you don't like it, how do you keep track, and whether or not you read the weekly recap posts. And so you should probably tell them no, because I prefer to listen to Google Workspace Recap with Steve and Jesse.
That's exactly what I wrote, actually.
Right.
Like, how do you get your updates? Through Workspace Recap. And,
Yes.
Right. On the YouTube and podcast feed.
Yep, exactly.
I think it's an anonymous form, so.
No, it's got my email. It says not shared, so it says not shared at the top, so I guess it is. All right, so I will officially be taking this form 8,000 times so that Google will know that the best place to get news on everything Google Workspace is Google Workspace Recap on a weekly basis on YouTube and anywhere you get podcasts.
They'll reach out and they'll hire us and we'll work with
that would be wonderful. Google, we're here. Come.
Yeah.
We'll welcome you with open arms.
Yeah. We don't, a couple hours a week, that's all. Consultants.
Yeah, some people don't like it when the large corporate overlord comes and buys out the company, but by all means, come Google.
But they, what they do that. There was some training for partners last week for EMEA, and the training partner is an independent consultant based in Brazil. So it's not Googlers directly doing the training and the teaching. They've contracted that out to a third party. Yep. So that could be us.
Could be.
You never know.
Be. One interesting section of this feedback survey that I found is they're asking if we would like it if there was a section included in the weekly recap that included all of the features that were completed rolling out that week.
Right, but don't they do that already? Isn't that what the post is about, the recap post?
No, what I think they mean here is, we announced it there, but now it's done rolling out. This went live now. We talked about that 3 weeks ago or 3 months ago. Now it's fully live.
Oh,
meaning, hey, make sure to keep an eye on this and tell your users about it now because it finally actually hit. Because some of these things don't exactly tell us all the time when it'll be done rolling out to everybody. And that's one of the frustrations that I've had is because, and this maybe is a little bit different, but I'll have users that'll start getting the rollout of the front end of it, and then it'll be a week or 2 or 3 or more, where other users, and I only have 500 users in the domain. It's not like I'm, cold feet, right? And other people are like, why don't I have it? Where's mine? It's like, well, I don't know. They'll get around to it. So, it'd be nice if we could just have it, each domain, or at least for the smaller ones of us, all roll out at the same time. But at least here I could say, okay, now everybody has it, and I can do a Tech Tip Tuesday describing it or something along those lines. So I think it would be useful.
Yeah, I guess it could be. Could be.
Anyway, we'll include the link for that survey so that you can all do us a favor and tell Google how much you love our show and that we are the single best way to find Workspace content on the internet and all things Google, etc., etc. So, a little bit of shameless self-promotion.
Exactly,
right there.
shameless.
Completely shameless. All right, next one here we have is another Google forum, Google Workspace Roadmap Series, Secure First Collaboration Solutions. So this is an event, as Steve said at the top of the show here, December 5th at 8 a.m. Pacific. A little bit early for me, but that does mean that they can get everybody, or the majority of people, I suppose, the world over in on this event. The most time zones included, I suppose. So they're going to discuss upcoming innovations and create a two-way conversation to provide you with better insight into what's coming, as well as some of the roadmap highlights. So if you're interested in that and you have already signed the NDA in order to be able to see the roadmap, then you will be able to RSVP and attend this, which I already have RSVP'd. So get on it, people.
Yeah, and that was posted last week in the GCC community. So head over
what
there.
We need.
It is in the private community though. So if you're seeing it, then you should have access to it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's an interesting point. So if we're going to be sharing the link to the event registration, which means that you may not have access to attend. So keep that in mind. What we'll do is we should share the link to the Customer Connect private post, and that will allow you to know whether or not you are likely to be eligible or not. It just kind of depends on whether or not your domain that you register with has been NDA'd. Doesn't necessarily mean that your account in the community has to match, but because you might move companies, for example, and the company you're at now might have signed that NDA, so you might be fine with it if you use that, current company email, and maybe GCC is a different personal email address, for example. That's my situation, for example.
Yeah.
I have to register for these events with a different email that has the NDA attached to it, and then I get access.
Makes sense. Yeah, the forum is public, so just being able to see the forum doesn't indicate anything.
The forum's public, but it was posted in a private forum. So
yes.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry.
So we're kind of
what we need is a private NDA release channel for NDA recaps. Get on it, Google.
Well, isn't that's what
that's what this event is going to be?
Well, that's kind of what this is, but it's also what not feature ideas. I mean, the feature ideas is the, what am I trying to think of here? The upcoming releases. There's I'm trying to blank right now.
Visible changes doc?
Yes, the visible change. Thank you. Visible changes
You're
doc.
welcome.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I read your mind. Yes. Yeah, but they're not as cool as us, so, that's a doc, we're a show. All right, last but not least.
Oh, you know what we could do? We could do like a Patreon site.
Yeah, for sure.
Where you
as
can
long
sign
as
up
Google
to get
gives us access to make sure that those NDA people are actually on it. And we may or may not send an email to everybody else who is on the list and isn't a member of the show to watch the show.
Yeah.
Joking, relax, respect the NDA.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you could vet the people that sign up to the Patreon site,
that'd be cool.
Make sure that they have those NDAs, and then you could release that content to them.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time we brought this up, actually. This has been a conversation we've had multiple times and have actually discussed with people inside of Google. So they do know about this being an issue and that, in theory we could do something like that, but we would have to wait for them to build that out so that... And it wouldn't be Patreon. Unfortunately, it would probably be some internal googly tool.
I don't know. Yeah.
Whatever, man. Or yet another cloud community.
Right.
Damn, that's a good domain. I'm going to go
That could be-
register that now. All right, last reminder here. There you go. That'll work.
It's probably taken.
The last one, of course, is taken, is a reminder that Threadit, for all 5 of us who used it for more than 10 minutes, will be turned down starting December 19th. If you were a fan, I do believe it's going to be kind of folded into some other products. So, like many things Google, you'll see it or parts of it coming down the road. So, yeah, heads up there. You will be able to do export. Like we said on a previous episode, should you need to, they provide instructions in the email that they sent out, which I have a screenshot of that I can include in the, here, there you go. Threadit will continue to be available for the next 28 days. After that, all Threadit content will be deleted starting December 19th, and if you wanted to keep your content, you can export it up until the 19th and basically download individual videos directly from your Threadit homepage. And that's pretty much all she wrote. Anything else? A pretty quick show. Ish.
Nope.
Half hour. Nope. All right. That's all for this week. Send us your questions and comments on Twitter while it's still standing. At Workspace Recap and on our website. I hope it stays standing. I love Twitter. WorkspaceRecap.com. Hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to us. If you're over on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Put your questions and comments in the comments section below. We love hearing from everybody. Tell your friends. Tell Google that you love us. Please. Helps to spread the love, spread the news. Have a great week. And, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Because that's going to be later this week by the time this episode goes out. So, gobble, gobble.
Yeah.
Have a great week, and we'll see you next time on Workspace Recap.